Reverse grid racing action in the 7 Racing 420R UK Championship. Of course, the top 10 from the previous race reversed around and ready for action. It's going to be a fun one. The previous race was extremely entertaining, but I'm sure we're going to get very much the same thing. It was Mark Stansfield winning the race from 8th position on the grid in a fantastic battle with Jamie Elwood. Of course, ended preemptively, but we are ready for 25 more minutes of racing action, and I'm sure we're going to have a fantastic one. Like we said, the top 10 has been reversed around, so on pole position will be JJ Magales, and of course alongside him is Marco Agam, who will be starting from 2nd position. Then it's Lewis Tootle and Wes Payne, who started the previous race from pole position, starting this one from 4th. Jason Cheetham had some good pace at various points of the race. We're starting from 5th position with Mark Farmer alongside on the 2nd row of the grid with Gary Smith and Anthony Barnes in 7th and 8th position. The two that battled for race victory earlier on is Jamie Elwood in 9th position, then Mark Stansfield, who won the race earlier on the day starting from 10th. Then it's Tom Quarrendon in 11th position with Tom Heyman Joyce starting from 12th. The rest of the field we'll see in 13th position Matt Drew starting on the 7th row of the grid. He'll be alongside Gary Tootle, the second of the two Tootles. We're starting from 14th position with Peter Reimer starting from 15th position alongside Julian Kerry in that 222 car. The final 3 rows of the grid see Mark Johnson starting alongside Adrian Ferdinand. Of course, Kelvin Hassel starting alongside Richard Boughton in 20th position. The final row of the grid, it's Charles Holroyd alongside Stuart Calder. The 22 cars on the grid in the 420R category. Magales, again, potential race victory to come if they can convert from pole position. Did come into this round sitting in 5th in the championship, coming into the weekend here at Oulton Park. There was a really close fight for 2nd, 3rd, 4th and 5th in the championship. Anthony Barnes came into it with the championship lead, had 194 points coming into this round. It was 176, so about 18 back to 2nd place, which saw 3 people on the same points: Mark Stansfield, Gary Smith and Jamie Elwood. Of course, Stansfield and Elwood both trading points. I believe Stansfield potentially taking over the lead of the championship, and JJ Magales only 2 further points back. Could potentially capitalise on a solid 25 minutes of racing around the Oulton Park circuit. The safety car will come into the pit lane and begin what I'm sure will be a thrilling 25 minutes of racing. But the most important thing, keeping your nose clean in what you know will be frantic battling all the way to the checkered flag. It's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tricky for these drivers to keep out of trouble, but that is the important thing. If you're going to go on to take victory in this race, keeping it out of trouble, the most important bit. 25 minutes goes onto the clock, the safety car comes into the pit lane, and the control goes to JJ Magales and to Marco Agam on the front row of the grid. Green flag is waved by the marshals, the red light goes out, and Magales will lead down into the first corner as they charge their way through. Some big looks coming in. Jason Cheetham was looking to the inside as they were heading their way into that first turn, but couldn't quite do so. The JJ Magales, I believe, continues to lead for Marco Agam as they head their way then into the 2nd and 3rd corners, down into Cascades, flicking it through the left, and then out onto Lakeside, where they'll all once again navigate into the extremely fast Island Bend. There at the moment, your race leader JJ Magales, almost onto the grass goes Marco Agam, who was trying to look for the race lead. Couldn't quite make that one stick as they flick their way through the left-hander, get onto the brakes. Cheetham there in 4th position, trying to fend off in the background. As going straight around the outside was Wes Payne, who's dropping backwards once again, did in the previous race. Struggling to find the early race pace and the consistency required to go on and take a solid result in this race. They all go single file through the Britain chicane. I doubt they'll be quite a single file heading into his lots. For the top grouping though, it's still the 62 JJ Magales from the 31 Marco Agam. There comes a couple of looks down the inside. That of course will be Jamie Elwood trying to make that move on the inside of Wes Payne. There is the 41 as they work their way through. Mark Farmer, who's dropped back a few positions, I think, or at least a position or so on the race start. as they head their way up Clay Hill. I would say it's a solid lead, but it's more that it's been confidently held by our pole sitter. There in the light blue is Jamie Elwood, who has pulled a little bit of a gap on Mark Stansfield. You'll see in the, it's a dark green cart with light green, or even more say it's yellow, highlights. That one has just gone through the shot behind the car that belongs to Wes Payne, the more red car. Those two are very close to the championship. Those are the two that finished first and second in the previous race. Those are the two that are going on to fight for this title. Can they indeed keep that up with still plenty of time left to go in this race? Again, expected to be a 13-lap race around the Oulton Park circuit. And the lead slightly is grown to an absolute chasm there, maybe just about half a second, as they then flick their way through. There comes a look to the inside and the switch for third and fourth position, as I believe that might have been Tootle and Smith switching their way around. Let me double check on that as they work their way out of the corner, because Cheatham's dropped back into fifth position on that one as they work their way through. So Cheatham in the yellow and black car, dropping back then just ever so slightly. It's the number 20 of Smith that runs in third position. The 32 of Tootle, who now runs in fourth. There comes a look to the inside, to the number 20 of Smith, making the move, committing to it down the inside as they work their way into the Hislop chicane. Can't quite complete that move, has to settle, but Gary Smith is flying at the moment in that number 20. It's allowed the race lead, though, to grow to a fair margin. But of course, it's happened quite a lot in the previous race, where the leader would step out to a bit of a margin and then it would close back up again. Here comes the outside. Smith trying to complete the move on Agam. Can't quite do it. Once again opens up the door for Tootle to potentially throw their way back into the mix. And here comes Cheatham in the yellow and black car. Straight down the inside comes Cheatham to try and get past Lewis Tootle. You've also got Elwood behind, going side by side with Wes Payne as well, as they'll go side by side a couple of rows deep onto the start-finish straight. Megales, though, leads by just over a second. Second and third go single file. Third, fourth, fifth, all going side by side, though, behind, as they were three wide in the race, as Elwood takes over what is now, I believe, fourth position. Deep onto the brakes as they head their way into the second proper braking zone at Cascades, and it is Elwood ahead of Cheatham there in fourth and fifth position. Poor exit though from Elwood. Here comes Cheatham, and here comes back into the mix Lewis Tootle. Straight to the outside they go into the left-hander at the island bend, and Tootle might have to settle behind and drop back. So difficult to complete a move around the outside there. Wes Payne was able to come through as well. So Tootle dropping backwards behind Payne as well, and so now we'll run in seventh position, I believe. Will Tootle. You've got Anthony Barnes as well in that, of course, the champion leader coming into this round, trying to battle with Stansfield. They're in 8th and 9th position. A pair of those, though, losing a fair amount of ground to Elwood, who currently runs up the order now inside the top 5. Cheatham taking the defensive line. 5 minutes down, 20 to go. Still so much time for these drivers to deal with. Megales, though, leading by 1 second. That gap, I think, has closed down slightly, though. I don't think it's quite a second anymore. We'll see as they cut. It's definitely not a second anymore. Let me let me correct that one straight away. Megales leading by my eye about 3/4 of a second. If that's anything, it might be less. Might be maybe even close to half a second at present. It's Megales from Agam, from Smith, from Cheatham. Cheatham here rather, defending from Wes Payne. The number 4 as well of Barnes. Stansfield also in the mix in that green and sort of lime green car. That one was the one that was victorious earlier on in the day. There's Wes Payne in the 50, looking to the outside of Cheatham. Can't quite do that. That's the battle for 5th position at present. You've got Barnes as well, who came into this round the championship leader, losing out a position though to Lewis Tootle as they get onto the brakes and flick their way through the right-hander and then left. Out wide has gone, and there's been big contact as well. Who was that who made contact? I think there might have been. We've got, I was going to say there might have been a little bit of Farmer. That's definitely Farmer there. I was wondering though if maybe our champion leader Barnes might have been involved in that. Either way, Farmer definitely involved in that one in the 41. but alas, a bit of drama as they depart onto Lakeside. It is still the race lead though from Megales, from Agam, and now it is Smith, then Elwood, then Cheetham, the top 5 at present, as Elwood gaining a few spots and throw themselves into the mix. There is a look at the number 41, and there is a look at the 4. It was indeed the number 4 there, our champion leader coming into this round. It's Anthony Barnes, who's had major problems there in contact between himself, between Barnes, between Farmer as well. A pair of those having a bit of drama, and for Barnes, it's come off very much the worst. It's going to turn into quite a tumultuous round here at Oulton Park for Anthony Barnes, who came into it first place in the championship, will certainly not be leaving it first place in the championship, losing a whole heap of ground. Back though into the fight for the race lead. We'll keep our eye on this. JJ Megales leading from Agam, leading from Smith, leading from Elwood, the top 4. Cheetham is still sat there in 5th position. We do have Wes Payne behind in 6th. Then it's Lewis Tootle, then Stansfield, and then Heyman Joyce. A bit of a gap back to Heyman Joyce. And then this battle here, the inside look coming in from Quarrendon, trying to get past Reimer at the first corner. There was a bit of a look to the inside there, but and you can see even some damage there on the rear end of Quarrendon's car. Also might have been involved somehow in the incident there, but certainly the wheel fairing on the right-hand side, the rear right-hand side of Quarrendon's number 42 has taken to the circuit, and I don't mean that in a positive way, unfortunately. Clearly there was some form of contact, and it has fallen off. Here though, the fight between Cheetham and between Payne, the fight for 5th position. Stansfield picks up a little bit of the grass on the exit of the Shell Oils corner, has not been able to make the progress as he was in the race previous. He did go from about 8th position up to 1st. We're expecting 10th to something decent. At the moment, it's only 10th to 8th. I know we're still early doors in the race, but you normally expect quite a lot of those positions to be made up early on, whilst everything's nicer, tight and close. Especially when you're, some of your champion rivals, like for example Elwood, who we're looking at here in the bright blue and orange car. Elwood is in championship contention as well, and could be capitalising on a pretty solid run here in Oulton Park. Things look a little bit calmer though for JJ Megales, our race leader. I'm sure that now that I've said that, it will really start to kick off. But Megales is looking comfortable. It is still a 8-car battle for the race lead. It's Megales, Agam, Smith, Elwood, Cheetham, Payne, Tootle, Stansfield, the 8 cars that are involved in this fight, and there could be a switch for second spot now as Smith looks to the inside of Agam as they head their way through into that first corner, and there's a bit of contact as well for good measure, and the 31 gets pushed out wide as Smith was forcing his way through. Elwood as well, 2 wheels onto the grass, sliding around as they head their way down into the braking zone, flicking it through the right-hander at Denton's, and then straight into Cascades. That was a very sketchy moment indeed, but alas, by the way, big note from race control here. The race leading car, JJ Megales, has just been given a 5-second time penalty by race control. So effectively, Agam there, who is currently in second spot, is effectively your race leader at present. That car with the red roll hoop, the red top of the car, and of course then the roll cage. I was getting the money eventually. Not really a part of this race anymore, courtesy of that 5-second time penalty, because 5 seconds in this drops it from first all the way down into 8th position. And I can see that holding all the way up to the checkered flag now. So unfortunately that car there, as good as done. Probably won't know anything about that, and also will still be like, right, well, I'm starting the race. Here we go, lads. As we'll take the defensive line up Clay Hill and then into Druid. That defensive line might not matter, because here comes to the outside the number 20. Straight around the outside goes Smith, straight into the race lead. Fantastic drive at the moment. We're seeing there as the number 20 of Gary Smith, who'd been aggressive, had been pushy on the opening lap of the race, now finds himself in the race lead after getting past JJ Megales, and with still comfortably over halfway through the race. Now's the time to try and check out into the distance. I don't think that one will be particularly easy, as here comes Megales straight back down the inside of the first corner. Gary Smith will have to potentially back out of that one or risk an incident. However, if he does back out, well, instead straight around the outside of the first corner. I was going to say, because Elwood is right there, so can't back out of it too much. And it is still going to be Gary Smith then leading. Elwood up then into second position. It's Megales dropped down into third with a 5-second post-race time penalty. Agam also involved in the fight, who's now running in fourth position, that bright yellow car. Bit of a gap back to Cheetham, who currently runs in fifth position. Then it's Payne, then Tootle, then Stansfield, the top 8, with a big 5.2 second gap back to Reimer, who currently runs in ninth position. 13 minutes left. They flick their way through the right-hand kink, then into the Britain chicane. It goes left, then right, then left again. Elwood charging, put on some absolutely excellent moves in the race earlier on in the day. We need to put on some excellent moves here if that victory is to be secured. Well, at least one more excellent move. Let's go with that, because behind, yes, the pressure is mounting, but one further position, you're in the race lead. I think you need to control the race like what we saw earlier on in the day for the likes of Stansfield. We did see the race lead switch around quite a few times. We're going to need to see the switch for the lead at least once if Elwood is taking it. I don't think, I honestly do not think we are only seeing one lead change here. I think we're seeing a few. Elwood completely committed onto the grass, and down the inside goes Elwood into the race lead then. Fully committed. It's Elwood now leading the race from Smith, from Megales in behind, and plenty of 2 wide behind that. We've had one lead change. Let's see if we're going to get a second one here straight into Oulton. The 20 then of Smith, Gary Smith completely committing to try and get past Elwood, although I do think advantage is going to go the way of the number 11, and straight out onto the grass comes JJ Megales with the orange highlighted roll cage. Could not get through there, and it is Elwood then leading the race. 11 minutes and 30 seconds left to go. Now getting involved in the background and starting to work their way forward is Stansfield. So as I think Stansfield's moved up into 7th position, it will be Wes Payne who's dropped back from 6th to 8th, because Lewis Tootle also has come through. So there must have been a mistake at the opening corner, because Wes Payne has now become the final car in this 8-car train. You can see there Cheetham trying to make the move on Agam as they head their way down into the Britain chicane. Starts to calm down ever so slightly, at least for the briefest margin. There comes to the outside for Gary Smith. Elwood defending, bit of a lock up from Elwood. Gary Smith straight round, and Smith retakes over the race leader. So we weren't going to get one lead change, we're definitely going to get a few more in the final 10 minutes, that's for sure. Elwood relinquishing the race lead. Smith with an inspired move around the outside as they head their way into the Hislop chicane. Elwood was going to try it here in the Druids, but that one was never really going to work. They remain extremely close. JJ Megales sat there in 3rd position, ready to try something, probably ignoring the fact that there is a 5-second post-race time penalty. Might not even spotted it on the right-hand side as they run on the start-finish straight, and so we'll just treat this as being in the race. And I kind of get it. Why not? Get involved. It's a cup race at the end of the day. We're here for a bit of fun as they head their way into the first quarter. And Megales losing, of course, the race lead. Started this race in a reverse grid pole, but still very much in contention. At least to do it on track. Big lock up there though will open up the opportunity for Agam to come through. It was a little bit too deep as they head their way through Cascades. Amazingly though, was able to keep the speed going up through the corner, and so is able to hang on to what is an on-track 3rd at present, which could well give Elwood the best opportunity to try and retake over the race lead with 9 minutes and 20 seconds left to go. It's still Smith leading from Elwood, leading from Megales in 3rd, Agam in 4th, then Cheetham, Tootle, Stansfield, and of course Wes Payne, who's actually got past Stansfield, I'll correct myself. So those two switching around, and Stansfield now runs in 8th position. Quarrendon isn't that far behind and has been setting some very good pace, closing up. It's been going about 1 second to 2 seconds a lap faster than the group behind, which means that JJ Megales' pace is going to become more problematic for JJ Megales, because now it's another position that he's going to lose with that 5-second time penalty post-race. You can see that red car there with the rear right fender missing over the rear wheel arch. That was Quarrendon who's closing in. Reimer's not even that far back and has been setting times a little bit slower than the progress of Quarrendon, but still faster than our lead group. Here comes the look to the inside, as we'll see Wes Payne get past on the number 32 of Lewis Tootle. So Wes Payne back up into what is now 6th position. Stansfield in 8th, move for the race lead, coming in once more. It's going to be very close once more, and a huge slide as they head their way. Gary Smith just about keeping control of his car as they head their way through the first turn. That was incredibly close. Elwood to the outside as they head their way through the Cascades corner. Now down Lakeside. It could be 3 wide into the Island Bend as JJ Megales throws himself into the mix. Will they know they're 3 wide? Megales backs out of it, and Gary Smith then through and holding on to the race lead after a big slide in the opening corner. We've got a bit of damage there to the front left of the number 5 of Reimer. That was going out of the final corner at Lodge, coming up towards Deer Leap. And of course, there is the 41 of Farmer as well. You can just about see on the left-hand side of the screen, there is another car as well. There is confirmation it is the 41. And they're saying that they will need a little bit of assistance from some of the other marshals to get that car out of the way, which could mean this race might be intervened by a safety car. You know, if they need to bring the Zoom Moon out of the circuit, that it will be a required safety car. That's always how it goes. And so for these, it might be the last few times they get to change for the race lead. They head their way through. Is Gary Smith still leading from Elwood and now into the double yellowed section, where they'll have to remain single file. They'll have to remain cautious, obviously, and slow themselves down for starters, courtesy of the 2 cars over on the left-hand side of the track as they depart through the final corner. Up towards the line then, still incredibly close in this group as they'll head their way out. It's still Smith leading from Elwood, from Megales as well. Megales looking to the inside as they head their way through into the first corner. Can't quite do anything. Still have that 5-second post-race time penalty to deal with. Obviously will now cost them a whole heap of points, especially with the safety car. There's also a double yellow then down into Cascades. So who's been off here? There is another car then off the road and deep into the gravel trap. Is that Lewis Tootle? It is Lewis Tootle who went off on the previous lap. So Lewis Tootle, who was involved in this battle, I didn't even notice him going missing, but Tootle is out of it now. Big slide coming in as Elwood's going out very wide and just about keeps hold of the car. Oh my goodness, Elwood was completely committed there as Smith just hangs on to the race lead. Elwood in 2nd, Megales in 3rd, Agam then in 4th position with Cheetham in the yellow and black car involved. Wes Payne and Stansfield. Quarrendon continues to make it though. 8 cars for the race lead as Quarrendon is finally fully a part of this battle with 5 minutes left to go in this race. How incredibly tight is this? Onto the brakes once more. Big slide coming in from Elwood. It's still Smith leading the race, just about. Both Smith and Elwood had huge moments there going into the Island Bend, one of the fastest corners in British motorsport, and they were all crossed up going into it. It was so tricky and so testing going into that corner, and they were all over the place, and fantastically so as well. Again, showing some great car control. So back out through Druids and then into the yellow flag section. So no overtaking now into Lodge Corner. Control being held effectively through the section by Gary Smith. Then we'll begin racing. And this is the thing, is they'll all have been well aware as to what happened on the previous lap. Right, we've got a yellow flag going into the final corner and the checkered flag is displayed again. So the checkered flag coming out early, and after 11 laps, it's still Smith then who will cross the line to take victory. Elwood in 2nd, Agam then in 3rd, with Cheetham, Payne, Stansfield, Quarrendon, and JJ Megales would drop down to 8th position courtesy of the 5-second post-race time penalty. I get it from race control again. We've got the 2 cars that are off at the final corner. You've also now got a car off in Lewis Tootle at Cascades. There is a look at those 2 cars, both drivers out. And I think both drivers even taking a little bit of a look as to what the deal is with their cars. But of course, no further racing happening for the 420R category And there's Lewis Tootle also out of the car. And already chatting with the marshals as to can I have my car back, please? That'd be great. But of course, the race ending early once again. So tight though. Across the line, the top 7, let's go with that, was separated by 2.5 seconds. Megales would have been involved in that as well, because was actually only 0.4 of a second off of the race lead. So effectively, it was 8 cars separated by 2.5 seconds across the line there. And again, a very, very good victory for Gary Smith, provisionally of course, but Smith leads across the line from Elwood, who once again will finish in second spot after a great drive. Agam in third, with Cheetham in fourth, Payne, then Stansfield down in 6th position, not able to make the progress that he did in the previous race. Crondon would finish in 7th position, with Megales dropping down to 8th after a 5-second post-race time penalty. Behind that though is Calder and then Heyman Joyce, finishing inside the top 10. Before we get to Johnson, then Carey, Matt Drew, Ferdinand's there in 14th position with Boughton, Hassel, Holroyd, and then of course the 2 Tootles, the 32 of Lewis Tootle, the 64 of Gary Tootle. Reimer also involved in that incident, the final corner, obviously joined in that by Farmer as well. The other retirement from the race, obviously being Reimer, being Farmer, and Barnes as well, also retiring from the race. You can see there Farmer and Barnes both retirements after what has been a very exciting weekend for the 7 Racing 420R UK Championship. Again, obviously we're not done yet with the season. A little bit of a break. We'll be back to racing at the Silverstone Grand Prix circuit on the 2nd and the 3rd of August. Between that, of course, the 7 Racing Series will go abroad as well to Zandvoort, not the UK Championship, just elsewhere anyway. So we will see you on the 2nd and 3rd of August. If you are ready, though, to join for some more 7 Racing, of course, we do have the 310Rs and the 270Rs that will be coming up at 5:20 here in the UK. Thank you so much for joining us, though. Until next round, we'll see you in a bit. Bye-bye.